Are you aware of the new Magia record anime that is slated to come out later this year? And do you find yourself excited for its release? Do you wish to know more about the anime, meaning the type of story it's going to tell, with many of the new characters the Magia record anime will introduce? What if I told you there was a way to experience the lore of Magia record right now without having to watch the anime or play the mobile game? Would you believe me? How would you react having a chance to be introduced to your future Magia record waifus right here, right now? Well, you're in luck, because while the Magia record anime may not be here yet, there does exist a manga that translates and showcases the main story, and in this video, I'm going to be going through that manga and giving you insight into the actual story, while also making comparisons between the manga and mobile game, respectively, since there are some minor differences between the two in terms of how certain events and characters are portrayed. If that sounds interesting to you, then stay tuned. Hoi, hoi, hoi. Hoi, 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 hoi. We have the power to do anything. Hello there, my wonderful IMP Nation. How are you? I'm so glad you could make it today. This is Mommygasm, aka Mommy Sexual, reporting for duty, and I shall be your imperfect host for today. Hoi, hoi, hoi. Before the video begins, I just want to clarify that I made a mistake when it comes to pronouncing the name of Tamaki Idoha, and instead of saying her name in the way I just did, I refer to her as It Roha throughout this video you're about to see. Unfortunately, this is not a mistake I noticed until after the video was completed, so throughout this video you will hear me refer to Idoha as It Roha. This is a mistake that has been corrected, and in future videos, this mistake will not be repeated. Anyway, just wanted to let you guys know, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So the manga starts off with a familiar homage of the original Puella Magi being showcased, as we are reminded of the familiar world that we will now be stepping back into. In truth, in some ways, this could be interpreted as a passing of the torch of the original Puella Magi to the new characters within Magia record, since all the girls are showcased at the very start, almost as though they're leading us off into the new story, reminding us of where we came from as we step into this new story featuring new characters. Now, I just want to clarify that this video is mostly geared toward those that have no idea of the Magia record story, so I will be explaining what happens in this manga as it's happening and not necessarily what it all means for later on in this story, and would also appreciate it if spoilers for future events are kept to a minimum in the comments, as not to ruin the experience for those out there that are new to the Magia record world. Anyways, the manga starts off with a countdown as we immerse ourselves into a dream sequence involving a mysterious girl. It's not yet revealed at this point who the girl is, but we're able to learn bits about her from dialogue being presented with images of her. The girl in question is within a hospital bed, which implies she is potentially a very sickly person. It's also made apparent from the person viewing the girl in this dream that this girl is unable to speak, or that the person is unable to make out the sound of her actual voice. The person having this dream mentions how much the image of said girl pains her, and it's at this point we're introduced to a miniature version of Cube? It's here our main heroine wakes up from her dream, and we learn of her name, which is Tamaki Idoha, and a little about her life, which brings me to one of the biggest differences the mobile game story adaptation of Magia record and the manga adaptation, and that is how both stories open themselves up, because the manga version opens up with it Roha cooking and having an interaction with her parents, while the mobile game version opens up with her traveling to a certain city, which will be explained later on. But I find the manga opening with it Roha's home life to be an interesting change from the mobile game, only because it helps us to know more about her right off the bat, as well as her relationship with her parents upon first meeting her. Perhaps a bit similar to how the original Madoka anime started off with Madoka and her parents. Only difference here is that Roha comes across as being more competent and more responsible and mature than Madoka, because she's actually up early before both her parents are and making them breakfast, which is kind of unusual for a girl her age. It's either that, or perhaps she's trying to get on her parents' good side with food seduction. I mean, it's not as though this very thing does not happen in the future with a certain character. So yeah, perhaps this is a foreshadowing that Roha's secret weapon is actually food. Also, I want to point out that the manga art of Magia Record makes the characters look a lot more mature than they do in the actual mobile game. I mean, in truth, Roha here looks more like a high school student rather than a middle school girl compared to the mobile game version, which I think adds a nice touch, don't you think? It's at this point that Roha makes her way to Kamihama City, to which she mentions is the place where she began having mysterious dreams of the girl she mentioned at the start of this video. And it's at this point another difference between the mobile game and manga is revealed in the form of Roha helping a little girl be reunited with her stuffed animal. Now, how this is different compared to the mobile game version is from the very start, it is quickly established that Roha is a very shy, timid girl who gets nervous when it comes to having any form of social interaction with anyone. Though as the game progresses, this aspect of her character begins to change as she becomes more open and becomes more used to talking with others over time. But this does not change the fact that initially she is extremely shy and reserved around most of the people she meets at the beginning of the story. However, this aspect of her being super shy and reserved is not really played upon as much in the manga version of Magia Record, since seeing Roha opening up the story within the manga, cooking for her parents, and also helping this little girl gives you the impression that this version of Roha is a lot more outgoing and has a much easier time interacting with people than her shy mobile game counterpart, which I find interesting and makes me question why this change was made. Cause to me, the idea of Roha being shy and having social issues when it comes to talking to others sort of goes with who this type of character and story would be targeted toward. What I mean is that Roha being this type of shy, reserved girl, I think is supposed to make her more relatable to the person who would most likely be playing this game, while also giving you the sense of feeling as though Roha is this cute, innocent girl you just want to protect and root for as she's attempting to do her very best. So you could more or less say Roha being shy and reserved as well as cute and innocent works well when appealing to those within the otaku culture, since, let's be honest, most of us fall into the category of being a tad on the nerdy side, which is why we're so engrossed in Japan-related culture and why we would be interested in this game / anime to begin with, because essentially we're their target demographic in the idea of being otaku when it comes to anime and anime-related culture. And since we're the type that would get so engrossed in this media, which is why they tailored the main character of this game and made her the way she is. But as mentioned before, this manga version has less of those shy, reserved attributes, as I just mentioned, when compared to her mobile game counterpart, because of the once again more mature looking art style mixed with her seemingly more independent looking and more outgoing nature that's made apparent here. And this also gives viewers who have already played the mobile game and have already experienced much of the story a slightly different experience at the very start of it, which means if you already played the mobile game, there is still a reason to check out this manga and want to see a slightly different version of her from the one located within the mobile game. Now that I think about it, wouldn't it be interesting if the manga version was a slightly different timeline or universe from the mobile game version, where things are slightly different, as I mentioned, with the characters? Who's to say? Maybe when the anime version comes out, we may once again get a slightly different interpretation of the characters or story or events within both the mobile game and manga. As Roha continues walking through the city, she mentions how just being in this environment makes her chest tight as thoughts of the mysterious girl from her dream continue to assault her mind. It's at this point that Iroha's witch senses tingle as she is able to detect and find a witch's labyrinth nearby. It's there she's able to sense a conflict, aka a magical girl battle taking place inside. It's at this point that Iroha rushes into battle after completing her magical girl transformation, and what awaits her inside the barrier is another magical girl being assaulted by these hairy caterpillar looking familiars. Magical girl in question is named Kaede Akano, and not gonna lie, this character makes up one half of one of my favorite ships, and for those of you who have played the game along with me, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, Kaede is shown to be brutally assaulted by these caterpillar familiars and is on the verge of being destroyed, and that is until our mature and more responsible Iroha makes her appearance and saves the day. Well, sort of. Her way of dealing with the problem is suggesting that the two make a break for it, and it's after they escape the witch's barrier that the two exchange pleasantries, and Kaede warns Iroha to go back where she came from because the witches and familiars in Kamihama City are stronger than usual. Though this version of Iroha actually plays it off, which is very different than how the version in the mobile game reacts to the news, as you can see from her expression. Cause upon learning how strong the familiar and witches are within the city, she becomes very worried, but the Iroha version in the manga just plays it off with a cool, reassuring smile, which is almost to say, hey, relax, I got this, no need to worry about me. Again, I still can't get over how different this version of Iroha is compared to the mobile version. In fact, I'm gonna post a poll at this point in the video. For those of you who have played the mobile game, which version of Iroha do you most prefer? The shyer, less sociable and relatable version, or the more mature, outgoing, cool version seen within this manga? It's kind of a toss-up for me at the moment. It's at this point that Iroha mentions her reason for coming to Kamihama City in search of the miniature Kyubey mentioned earlier. To Iroha's surprise, Kaede had actually seen this mini Kyubey earlier within the witch's barrier the two had just escaped from. It's then, in cool girl style fashion, Iroha smiles as the two girls part ways as Iroha proceeds to track down the witch's barrier in order to find the small chibi Kyubey within it, in the hopes that this may lead Iroha to the mysterious girl found within her dream. To Iroha's surprise, upon her looking for the witch in question, the witch actually finds her, as she is once again submerged within the same witch barrier she was trapped in earlier. Upon once again being inside the witch's barrier, Iroha is greeted with silence. That is until the mini Kyubey makes its appearance. Upon Iroha being able to get a hold of Kyubey, the two then become surrounded by a massive group of familiars. Iroha once again tries to make a run for it, only this time she's shot down from behind as the familiars launch their attack. It's then the shonen battle moment of the manga gets underway, and Iroha determines she needs to make a next level attack in order to successfully defeat the familiar she is facing. Despite unleashing a massive attack, able to clear out many of the familiars, Iroha still finds herself overwhelmed and mentions needing to retreat. Though this time around, she is unable to escape, as she's seemingly about to be attacked, having her life come to an end. Iroha begins to reflect on her life and the idea of trying to find the mini Kyubey and attempting to figure out who the mysterious girl in her dream was, and it's at this moment that Best Girl appears. Don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to this channel if you're new, turn on notifications so you're aware of every upload, and share this video to spread the word of the channel. Peace out!